Welcome to the Formulize tutorial video about text for display elements. There are two options for text for display, and if we look at this form, we might want to add some text to display on this form right here to introduce this table. You can learn more about how we set up that table in the video about tables of existing elements. And you'll see how that's put up and what the options are. But maybe we want some extra text to introduce that, help break up the form a bit. So what we can do is we can go back to the list of elements here. There's our table and the four text boxes it contains. Now what if we add in, here we go, text for display. There's two different kinds, and let's start with spanning both cells. So if we click on that, we'll add an element in. Let's just call it, because the captions generally are not used for text for display. You just need to give them a caption so that we can distinguish this element from others. So let's call it intro for table. And we want to position this. Those are our four text boxes. That's the table itself, so we want to put it right after that element so it will introduce the table in the way we expect. And then HTML for the line spans both cells. Now, as it says here, the caption will not display, only the text in this box will appear, although I'm pretty sure if you leave this blank, then your caption will appear. But the intent is that you can just put whatever content you want into the form with this. So for example, we could go H2, how many animals did you see? There are two options here, head or form heading. Generally, you want to leave that on head. Form heading is, I think actually that's an option in use only on some other systems. I'm not sure if there's even any default styling options for form heading. Head is the default. Normally that's not changed. The intent is that the text for display, as it spans both cells, will sort of blend in consistently with the other parts of the form. So if we reload this, then there we go. So it's an H2. It picks up the head style, which is that's why I say the head, usually leave that alone, because it's going to pick up the same color as the rest of the captions for elements. Now you could use a larger heading here to introduce that. You may also want to use a larger heading, put another text for display at the very top of the form, and that will sort of break up things, and you'll have these sort of headings throughout the form rather than just these smaller captions. So that's how those work in general. One other interesting option you can do with a text for display spanning both cells is you can actually use PHP for this text. So if you needed to pick up some values based on who the current user is or something like that, you can do some things. Yes. Here we go. Get the user. This is just some basic code that's available in Formulize if you ever start programming with it. Let's just say, well, username. Uname. And then we can say in our H2 we can say username, please fill in the number of animals. So you could add some customizations like that to the form. or you could do more complex things if you wanted to start inspecting values that are in the entry and so on. And there's more information in some of the documentation on our website about the Formulize API and the developer's guide to Formulize and things like that. But just at a very simple level, you can, as long as you have $value equals and then something, that will be interpreted and used as the text. So if we reload this, then it should tell us, there we go, admin, please fill in the number of animals. So there's a few different options there that you can use. And if we go back to the main wildlife form, wildlife activity form, there's our intro for the table. Now, as I said, maybe we want to do an intro for the whole form itself. So let's try text for display left and right. The options are a bit different there. So we can go welcome to the form, whatever we might want to say, and then the contents for the right side. So as before, like it says here, you can put HTML code and it's going to appear on the right side. You can use PHP code instead of text or HTML, but just make sure you've got the value equals, and then Formulize will read that as PHP. So if we look at our form, we think, well, what might be correct? I'm not sure. This may not be the best choice actually for this situation. Welcome to the form. Fill in your answers below. So we can just, it doesn't have to be HTML. You can just put plain text. Let's just put that in, and then when we reload the form now, oh, there we go. Welcome to the form. A lesson for everyone. Your elements fill in at the bottom unless you specify otherwise. So we can change that here. We could put it, say, at the beginning, or rather, okay, at the end is the default. At the beginning is another option, or just to be a bit different, let's go back to the list of entries. There it is at the bottom. Let's move it all the way up to the top. Ooh, all the way. There we go. And save that reordering. And now I won't be confused for a moment when I see it. There we go. So we got welcome to the form, fill in your answers below. So the text, generally speaking, the 2-column one is going to blend in very cleanly with the other elements, whereas the spans both columns, you would normally use that as a more significant divider. I think in this case it's probably more appropriate to use the spanning both cells here. So I'll delete that, and we'll just do some sort of cleanup on this. Span both cells, form intro, and our text for this is going to be H2. Please enter the details for your citing. Save that. And we probably don't actually need, or rather, here's the other one. We probably don't actually need the PHP code in there. It's in some ways distracting to see your own name. I think depends. I don't know. Depends on your preference. Depends on your users. Depends on why you would be putting in this kind of a heading. But let's just leave it at how many animals were there. All right. And so, with all that cleanup in place, if we reload, oh, did it again. Bet some of you could see that coming. Just to be quick about it, we'll put that at the beginning, save, there, and presto. Oh. Oh. Now I've gone and mixed it all up. So I'm just going to pause this for a moment, and when it comes back, everything will be correct. You wait and see. And there, just like that, it should have popped into everything popped into the correct position. I just paused the recording so you didn't have to wade through my correction of the misalignment of those elements, but it's just a question of the position. As you saw me moving the position of some of the elements earlier, it's the same kind of thing. Just move the elements into the right place, and then the form looks more or less normal. So by using text for display, you can often break up the form, makes it easier to follow, easier for people to read. So there's certain layout things like that you start to pay attention to as you build, especially a larger form. The tables here break things up and give a different way of entering information, and these kinds of headings, especially if you are using a larger, a markup like H2 or some other aspects of styling that make this bigger, it can really help with the readability of the form. For more information about the styling, you can see the styling video. It'll just point you in the right direction as to where the style sheets are and other files you would modify to change some of those things. So I hope that helps make your forms more attractive and useful for your users. And well, there's lots more to see in other videos too.